Anthelmintic is the sole weapon to manage the anthelmintic in the livestock. We use anthelmintic in two forms, either as a curative as well as preventive. Curative, when any morbid case come to us in our hospital, then we generally give anthelmintics based on the symptoms whenever there is symptom of gastroenteritis nematodes. But at that time, production losses already have occurred, and appearance of symptom will often coincide with the presence of large population of the infective larva of the pasture. So we expect immediate post-treatment reinfections during the time of curative treatment, while preventive treatments are aimed to reduce the contamination of the pasture, the rate of infection of sheep over some period in future, and timing of treatment is based on knowledge of epidemiology with reference to agroclimatic conditions. So there are different type of anthelmintic. Mainly we classify them as a broad spectrum as well as endospectrum. And we are having very limited class of anthelmintics. One is the benzimidazole, another one is the imidazole, third one is the macrocyclic lactone, and fourth one is the salicylinide group. These are commonly available in the market nowadays. So here benzimidazole means if resistance, because all the type of the benzimidazole, whether it is L-bendazole, tribendazole, N-bendazole, mebendazole, or other bendazole, they all act in a similar mode of action. So they are grouped in a one group, that is benzimidazole, and for purpose of anthelmintic resistance or for treatment purpose, they will always consider one. It is not appropriate just taking the L-bendazole 1 year, then shifting to fenbendazole 2nd year, then 3rd year to mebendazole, then again shifting to L-bendazole. That will not serve your the purpose. You are not rotating the anthelmintic, but you are using similar anthelmintic type every year. So here be clear that only 4 available anthelmintic types are benzimidazole, imidazole, tetrahydropyrimidine, and macrocyclic lactone. Different mode of action are there. The salicylinide group is available, that is clocental, and it is a broad spectrum ectoendoparasitic, but it is broad spectrum in the terms that it acts on the blood-sucking parasite, whether it is internal parasite or external parasite. But in actual term, it is not a broad spectrum anthelmintic. Anthelmintics are used to prevent and eliminate parasite infections. Use of anthelmintic in flock, we never eliminate it from our management studies. So there are products, if you see within a 10-year or after lapse of patent period, they will not under patent. So they easily made available at a lower cost, major component of prescription by vet, and farmer frequently buy the anthelmintic without thinking on this justified control programs. So all these factors lead to failure in satisfactory control of GI parasitism. The failure of worm management may be either due to our wrong choice of the anthelmintic, incorrect dose calculations, then faulty administration, then reintroduction of those animals to contaminated pasture, or might be due to, or importantly due to anthelmintic emergence of the anthelmintic resistance in our parasitic population. So anthelmintic resistance is a inevitable phenomena. It is a heritable change in the ability of the individual parasite to survive the recommended dose of anthelmintic. But initially, if you see in our populations, the resistant populations at a very low frequency in available. But when we use same drugs over the years, then there is selection of the resistant one. So it multiplies exponentially, and over the years, their proportion increases. And when it reaches to intermediate height of the intermediate phase, when there is a mixture of the heterozygous, that is containing both alleles susceptible as well as resistant alleles, then there is occurrence of the drug failure. So it is only selection pressure which escalate the anthelmintic resistance in nematode populations. It is a multi-dimension. It is a biological property of the worm that for its survival, it has a mechanism to escape the drug. It is genetic for inheritance, then evolutionary for development of mutant strain, and ecological for spread. So it has in different directions. And if in India, if you see how anthelmintic resistance status has progressed, initially it was detected in 1976 in Uttarakhand now, and only then reported in Haryana in 92. In 24 years, only 2 cases were reported from 2 locations. In next 5 years, if we see there were 11 reports, including Rajasthan, Punjab, Haryana, Uttarakhand, and UP. Then in next 5 years, these reports were increased. Again, 11 reports we received next from southern states. Then next to 2001 to 5, 10 reports. The spare of the Anthelmintic, occurrence of the Anthelmintic is day by day increasing. And now we are in a situation that whole country, whole state are having worms resistant to Anthelmintics. With more particularly in every state, we having multiple type of resistance, not only to a particular drug, but all the available Anthelmintics are the resistant. There are different factors which affect the development and spread of the Anthelmintic resistance. They may be parasitic in origin or non-parasitic origin. Mainly the parasitic origin, genetic and biological in nature, while non-parasitic factors are the climate and operational factor. This is very important. So we have to think about the worm biology. Haemonchus contatus, the predominant parasite of our country, is very highly biotic potentials, having as compared to Trichostrongylus and Esophagostrum. So high biotic potential producing the large number of eggs. Their progeny of surviving worms are diluted by the free living worms. When proportion of Haemonchus contatus is low, in area where Trichostrongylus population is high, having low biotic potential, then there is development of resistance is faster because their progeny will be not diluted by the surviving susceptible worms. Similarly, climate, partial larval building, and timing of treatment again affect the rate of development of Anthelmintic resistance. If we give Anthelmintic drains during wet season, when there is heavy worm burden, there is high selection pressure. If we go for the frequent Anthelmintic interventions, as in practices we observed that whenever there is onset of monsoons in initial phase, there is recommendations like that drains at the start of monsoon, then mid-monsoon, then late monsoon. So we create high selection pressure for the Anthelmintic resistance. So during wet seasons, we sure that give the Anthelmintic intervention during mid-monsoon only to maintain the refugia population on pasture. Then in dry season or drought seasons, when there is low pasture burden, avoid Anthelmintic treatment to reduce the selection pressure. If you give treatment at that during climatic extreme, then next generations whatsoever will be of the resistant one. Then some operational factor, if we see the Anthelmintic drainage frequency has direct relation with the Anthelmintic resistance. Suppressive, always avoid suppressive treatment. It favors the selection. Then selection of the Anthelmintic and dose rate. It is significantly affected by the flock size. More the flock size having, and he is more worried. So he buy frequently. 2 or more type of drains are used in the field within a year. There is no Anthelmintic rotation. Similarly, how the Anthelmintic drains are used in a village. Suppose what we observed that in a village, all type of the 3-4 type of Anthelmintics are used in a season. Some farmers are using benzimidazole, some farmers are using tetramycin, some are using closental, some other one, ivermectin. So what we are observing that it is a duty of field vet particularly that in their area they should chalk out or make a plan that in my vicinity or vicinity of my hospital, all the villages were drenched in this particular year with this type of Anthelmintic only. Then it will serve that purpose. We can avoid multiple Anthelmintic resistance. Otherwise, by using different type of Anthelmintic within a year, we create problem of Anthelmintic resistance as well as there is borrowing of the Anthelmintic resistance. The farmers or the flock which never used tetramycin in their flock, still we found tetramycin resistant worms in their flock because they borrowed from their neighbor. So please chalk out your strategy that for particular year only one particular Anthelmintic will be used in their jurisdiction. We have to reduce the gap of communication between vets and farmers. It is observed that the route of Anthelmintic purchase is from farmer to chemist. No vet is involved in majority of the cases. So we have to intervene in between. We have to make a link farmer to vet, vet to chemist. then chemists to again to vet and to farmers. That's why we can make effective utilization and timely application of the anthelmintics. Detections at field level, there are so, if we academically, if you see, there are different types of in vivo as well as in vitro tests. But at field level, this fecal account reduction test, FECRT, at district level or in district laboratory, both the tests in vivo as well as this in vitro test, egg HS test and FECR, fecal account reduction test, can be used by everyone. It is a very simple test. We can use these two tests to determine the anthelmintic efficacy. Then molecular assays are also developed by which we can detect even in, because these in vivo and in vitro assay can detect anthelmintic resistance only when 25% of the population become the resistant. But the molecular assay can detect whenever there is even 1% level of resistance. With this, I thanks all the participants.